How's it going, gamers? Coming at you with some Ho-Oh EX Snorlax EX action today. One of the big upsides that Snorlax EX has over the Lugia EX pairing that we've seen a lot of folks, including myself, experiment with Ho-Oh is that this one only needs colorless energy to be attacking, which means we're not all in on Ho-Oh being the thing to charge it up. We get to play 2 copies of Magby here as an additional ways to get energy on Snorlax faster, but even in the games where Ho-Oh is involved, Magby can also be a godsend. It mitigates that going first versus going second variant, since you get to attack right away with these baby Pokemon and get your energy powering up. And when all the stars align and everything is perfect for you, you have Magby when going second, allowing you to attack with Ho-Oh for 80 on the second turn of the game, which then sets you up in tandem to attack with Snorlax for 130 on the following turn. This necklace is also all colorless energy, meaning we're playing fire and water, because we get to splash a copy of Druddigon to answer opposing copies of Oricorio, which we can search up with Pokemon Communication, or throw it back with Communication in the games where Oricorio is nowhere to be seen. As always, if you enjoy us testing out sweet brews like this one, make sure you smash the like button on this video, and be sure you're subscribed to the channel to not miss any of the other upcoming things we're going to be covering here in Hooglandia. God, this emulator's been screwy. Jeff, do you remember your first ever stream? What was the topic? Were you nervous? So, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and my first stream wasn't me, like, firing up trying to have an audience. It was some of my friends wanted to watch me play Magic the Gathering online. So I elected to broadcast myself doing that, because it was a convenient way to let my friends see me play. Getting punished for putting the second Ho-Oh out here, but it's not the end of the world, hopefully. So, this doesn't take any damage here, but it lets me charge up the old Druddigon. Oh no, not my 3 cards turning into a different 3 cards. How will I ever win the game now? So we just shuffle these around, yeah? I'm gonna go ahead and keep this. We'll fish up with a Pokeball here. We'll hit this for 80. We'll get Drudagon ready to attack again while also charging up the backup Ho-Oh. I have the option to hit with either of these next turn. Hey, Yukmouth, thanks for the raid. Hope you had a good stream. They are just cooked to our big dragon, huh? Happy to have Drudagon in my opener here against the lead Lightning Energy. Tapu Koko, yep. Well, I guess let's see if we find Ho-Oh to start. If I find Ho-Oh, I'm gonna put energy on it. I was gonna say, I think I actually powered Drudagon to start here, but with the Ho-Oh pull, we'll Toasty Toss there. Then we can Ho-Oh charge up Snorlax or Drudagon next turn. We'll go pivot this out. And then with their first energy going on Oricorio, I think our first energy goes on Drudagon. And then I guess we could technically split the difference here, but that's a wash because this can't attack next turn anyways. Holy crap, a deck that can actually attack with Drudagon. Yeah, we're set up. Drudagon's our what's it called card? Anti-Oricorio card. Just as a general note, I always welcome and encourage constructive and specific criticism of deck that we're playing. A lot of the decks we're working on are brews and new ideas that can definitely be improved, but just saying like super negative stuff like this deck is bad, why are you playing this, etc., that's not really helpful, and it's just kind of annoying and obnoxious in chat, so don't do it. Most decks are bad, and you gotta be willing to lose a bunch to experiment with to figure out new things that could maybe be good. I think I keep the Magby to make it so they have to have the evolution to take the knockout point here. Someone was asking about the capes earlier, and the capes are definitely good with the babies in a lot of spots. All right, no evolution, and we're gonna trade a knockout point for a knockout point here. There's a Pokemon Center lady. Yeah, the capes on the babies lets them not die to 2 Darkrai triggers, which is nice. Speaking of the babies being nice, our Magby here, helping mitigate some of that going first variant by helping us get extra energies on here nicely. That's cool to have an accelerant that's not just all in on. Our accelerant's not just all in on Ho-Oh. We've got a backup plan here. Get a little floppy here. Hey, Stiggy, thanks for the over 5 years of support. Appreciate you dropping that Prime off for the 63rd month. If you enjoy what I do, gamers, and you pay Jeffrey Bezos money every month for Amazon Prime, consider linking it to your Twitch account using your free Prime sub here. Those bits of direct support are a big part of why this is able to be my job here day in and day out, and I appreciate the folks that do that. I promise you Jeffrey Bezos has enough money that he won't even notice it's missing. Think of it as a Jeff to Jeff wealth transfer, if you would. Speaking of Man, thank goodness these things don't have a weakness, huh? Do these decks play Frogadair? I think I cape here to play around Frogadair. I really don't want to give them up a free point. Also, it also means this doesn't die to a 10 plus a 20. Or just a 20, I should say, even. But it's got places to be, and Snorlax is holding them up, it would seem. I don't know that we were a lock for that one, but I was feeling ahead if we hit average coins. How does this deck play out if you stay asleep on your next turn? Do you hope for Lyra into Baby and then retreat? You also have one copy of Pokemon Center Lady. So we have 2 different cards that if you hit your 25%er, you can still work around it. Hey, Kazua, how did you think the Blissey deck looked that I posted the Discord server? It looks fun. Might get around to it at some point. Just got a pretty long list of things I want to try right now. And realistically, I need like 60 to 90 minutes to really get a feel for a given deck list. So I'm only gonna get through like 2 or maybe 3 Pokemon decks a day. It'll take us a little bit to explore everything this format has to offer. Man, I'm really glad we're playing Magby because we are really bad at going second. We have the full setup this game, which is nice. I'm gonna leave this last bench slot open. I'm not playing out the other Magby because what's what I'm searching for? This could realistically be a Drudagon. Squid Dynamite, thank you for the half a year. Welcome back. Is there any reason to keep the Magby? I don't think so. We were just talking about that, Nicole. Pokemon did change their official drops policy and expanded it to be category-wide. So everybody streaming in the Pocket category was able to do Twitch drops by the end of it, which that was, in addition to wanting to check out Gen 2 Pokemon, them pivoting to do the right thing in that instance definitely contributed to my decision to come back and check it out again. I'm gonna go ahead and put a cape on this Ho-Oh because I want to not lose it to a copy of Red. Get our big man charged up here. Hopefully the next time Pokemon does Twitch drops for Pocket, it will be category wide again, and they'll do a little promotion in client. That's some of the other part of it. It didn't really give a huge boost to the category when they did them because they didn't promote it properly. Yeah, they're just dead to the fat man in here. Like 1 or 2 more good ones in with this, and I think we'll move along to the next thing. Hey, Glitchy Stitch, thanks for taking the time to hook up that Prime support. Wouldn't be able to be here without folks like you. What are your thoughts on EX Blissey when it releases? I'm gonna be honest, someone else just asked me 2 cards you're excited about in Staff tomorrow. There's just so much going on. And like my summer's been busy with kids. It's so hard to keep track of what's coming up. I don't know the answer to either of those questions. My kids go back to school on Thursday. I'm very excited. My kids have a very late back to school this year. They are not back until, gosh, I think it's like the 21st. They have 2.5 more weeks still. And my youngest is starting kindergarten on the 21st, chat. I got an email at the start of the month that daycare was raising their costs again, and I was just like, that one doesn't apply to me anymore. Thank goodness. For those of you who live in countries that like have actual socialized systems that take care of people and are unaware, I pay about 19,000 USD per year for full-time childcare for my current 5-year-old. And I pay less than people do in some countries in the world, and so it's in some states in the US. All right, Magby to start. Oh, I'm going second. I should have put the Druidic out. Mistakes were made. When you're going first, you can hold your bench, but when you're going second, you should play your things out so that way you don't get red carded or Marsed or whatever out of them. Zip! Congrats on your kindergartner starting on the 21st as well. Yeah, whatever, like, people outside the US often are surprised when I talk about politics sometimes on stream, politics, but it's really not politics, it's just people's lives, right? I think people who live in a lot of Europe and Canada and places don't realize how expensive things are in the United States for people. Between childcare and healthcare and stuff like that, these basic things that should be guaranteed human rights because we need them to exist as a society. Instead, people have to pay through the nose and either do without or go bankrupt. It's very, very immoral. All right, so Magby is cooked next turn. However, I'm going to have Ho-Oh ready to attack, so I think that's fine. I think I give up a point to get the Toasty Toss onto here. I guess they have Lucamine to not care about. Oh wait, this is a jump kick. I thought this was a green Psyduck. It is not a green Psyduck. Swap this. Clean you out. Put some energies on Snorlax. Am I communicating? Yeah, I think I'm doing this just to, like, get cards out of my hand if they want to Mars me. Turbocharge this dork. My childcare costs dropped $400 a month when that kid moved up to an older room. Yeah, the $19,000 I pay per year in childcare costs are less expensive than people who have the infant room has a higher or a lower staff to child ratio, and then the other one does as well. So people who have 18-month to 3-year-olds and 6 weeks to 18 months pay more than I do, even where I live. Cinco Latarde, thank you for the absurdly generous tier 3 and for the 88 months. That is an eternity. Coming up on 7.5 years. Is Darkrai Giratina still meta? Absolutely. In fact, tomorrow's video on the Hoaglandia Pocket channel is going to be our meta report returning with the new set. So I was out of town over the weekend. We have a camper that we weekend at with the kids a lot of the time. So we did that. It was quicker for me to do the new decks roundup than it is the meta report. 'Cause the meta report, I got to slog through some data. We'll have a meta report video up tomorrow. We'll be talking about Darktina. Was it Pete Buttigieg is such an elegant speaker, so I'm talking about people yell about how other countries don't have freedom because of things like guns. He has a bit where he's talked about a couple of times where he talks about freedom isn't just freedom to do things. Freedom means freedom from certain things, right? Like the freedom from things like mass shootings and stuff like that happen in the United States that aren't common in other places. Because, you know, my 5-year-old will go to the publicly funded kindergarten, but they'll also be running drills there just in case someone walks into their school with a semi-automatic rifle and opens fire. So they know what to do in the event that happens. And it is deeply messed up and immoral that I live in, you know, one of the only countries in the world where that's a thing. Even things like healthcare are a thing that restrict your freedom in the United States, right? Like tying your healthcare to employment as opposed to tying it to something that you pay into at the government level means that you don't have the freedom to move jobs and live your life because you're restricted. If you want to be able to have access to healthcare, you have to keep working this very specific subset of jobs. It's actually one of those things that keeps corporate jobs a lot more successful than small businesses because corporate jobs allow for better healthcare that small businesses can't compete with. Yeah, I think our opponent's really bitter that we had Magby into Ho into Snorlax, and they're playing a tier 1 deck, and they got cooked by our trash tier EX. So a little bit of sodium here from the opponent. Good night, gamer. Daniel Mark, thank you for the 2 months of Prime. I appreciate you re-upping. Welcome back. We'll throw that salty game with the dash of politics into the deck highlight to ruffle the fascist feathers over on that side. Lugia EX seems lackluster. I think Lugia EX is all right. There's a couple of highlights of Lugia up on the YouTube channel. Just wanted to try something slightly different with Snorlax. I like that. I like that the Snorlax angle lets you power it up with Magby, which is something that we've done in a couple of these games now. Magby with just Ho-Oh to power up. Felt pretty lackluster in the games that I played. Oh, I get time to stand up and stretch. Fat man on the lead is not ideal here. This type of matchup seems really hard for us because they could just choose not to hit my Snorlax and then Ilima and Lyra don't pull it out of the active spot. Well, let me rephrase. This type of matchup seems exceedingly hard for us when we start on Snorlax lead, which doesn't happen super often because we are on 7 basics. When they just get to like have the run of the show here, there's just not a whole lot we can do, unfortunately. We have to just like put 4 energies out here organically and like hope for the best. Hey, thanks for the almost 3 years, Anti-Evil. Welcome back. Ooh, are they gonna hit me with the Sylveon? Oh, I guess they do have Psychic Energy. Maybe I am supposed to power up the Ho-Oh. Yeah, I messed up. I should put the first energy on the Ho-Oh because they have Psychic Energy. Yeah, I think we're cooked from here. I think even without my mistake, we're probably cooked from here, but with them having their best possible start and us having the worst possible, definitely gonna go next. Beans, thank you for the 27 months. Good afternoon. Happy Monday. Ho-Oh seems to be more valuable than Lugia. Is that the case? Ho-Oh gets played in more places, assuredly. Lugia essentially is not playable without Ho-Oh, and I think there's probably a handful of Ho-Oh decks that don't need Lugia. Be my summation of the situation. It's a damn shame I don't have a Leaf. You have an opinion on the best deck to climb with right now? I mean, the answer to that is always Darkrai Giratina, yeah? It's been the best deck since it released. Or close to it. No, this game does not do balance passes, no. So Buggy Beam literally doesn't matter against us, but I don't think I can live long enough taking 80 on the second turn because I put my first energy up here incorrectly. My energy assignment has not been very good today. Had a couple of mistakes that have not looked great. How many Oricorios have you come across in your climb? Not enough that people should keep asking me that stupid question. The Pokemon Pocket community as a whole desperately needs to learn it's okay to have a bad matchup. Especially when you're working on, like, B and C tier decks. Just, like, constant frothing at the mouth. Hey, you beat Oricorio. It's like, you can concede and go next. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Go next. Go next is an appropriate answer. So, and I think the best way I could tell you why you shouldn't be hyperfixated on Oricorio is something we can all agree on is that in any card game, you're always going to lose games to variance some amount of the time, right? Like whether it's Pokemon Pocket or Marvel Snap or Shadowverse or Magic the Gathering, like all card games have variance where you're just gonna lose sometimes, right? And one of the things you have to just accept and understand is that one of the many sources of variance in this kind of game is matchup variance. So some amount of the time, you're just going to get got because you queued up and then you queued into a matchup that's very bad for you. And that doesn't mean that your deck is unplayable if you have a matchup that's really bad for you. It just means you hit a bit of matchup variance. Yeah, but the chicken user doesn't deserve to win. Yeah, and I mean, what it comes down to is that people psychologically want to feel like they have a chance in every game. And from an emotional standpoint, they view it differently, losing to a draw variance versus matchup variance when you don't put an Oricorio answer in your deck. From a psychological perspective, it's very different. And one of the things you can do to help you get a lot better at these types of games is learn to disconnect yourself from that psychological effect. Don't let your feels get the best of you. I'm gonna leaf this out, and then I'm actually going to put a cape on the Ho-Oh here because I don't want it to get cleared by a Cyrus plus another 80. What about from a tournament perspective? From a tournament perspective, it really depends on what metagame shares look like. And anecdotally, I don't think there was that much Oricorio, but I haven't done the full meta report thing. I feel like I would have to expect to play against Oricorio more than 1 in 10. It would have to be over 10%, I think, for me to be like, I absolutely have to be able to answer Oricorio. It would need to be some well into the double-digit percentage number. Because the other thing is, and this is something that people just don't talk about enough, is like putting an Oricorio answer in your Pokemon Pocket deck is not free. Your card that you're putting in your deck to give you an out to Oricorio is going to lose you games of Pokemon Pocket in other places where it's not good or useful. So it's not just, I change my deck to play against Oricorio, so now I'm not 0% here. It's, I make my deck meaningfully worse in other places to give myself an out in this one specific place. So, like, this deck's a good example of, I like having an Oricorio answer when I'm playing all basics, especially with a Pokemon communication, because it's easier to find it and swap it around. Because I could do something with the non-Oricorio matchup with the communication, right? But, for example, in a deck that has stage 1s and stage 2s, meaning I have to fit more cards in the deck, fitting an Oricorio answer in takes up a valuable utility slot a lot of the time. Oh man, having Sabrina instead of Osiris is big sad here. Do I simply Sabrina this turn? I think I simply Sabrina this turn. So that way I'm either putting damage on the Porygon or getting a knockout. Dead to red. The Snorlax is going to heal up to 110 here in a second. And for everybody hanging out that's new to the channel, you heard me talk about stats and stuff like that, and tournaments and all these other factors. Like, my two key pieces of my background you should be aware of is I played Magic the Gathering and other card games competitively for a very long time. Racked up many top 8s in tournaments that had hundreds and even thousands of players in some cases. And I also have a graduate degree and undergraduate degree in mathematics. I spent time teaching at both the high school and college level. All right, opponent has their whole deck in their hand. So I need to bounce the fat man out here, yeah. Then we slide the Ho-Oh up and hit them. I'm gonna lose to a copy of red at this point, but I don't think there's any working around that. I think red or Cyrus gets us at this point. An EV bag would get us. EV bag's only 10 extra damage, right? So it'd be 70 up to 80, so EV Bag. EV Bag's not quite doing it. Guzma, yeah, Guzma gets us. This is one that gets us. I feel like I'd be surprised if they had EV Bag in their deck. Cyrus is the one I'm expecting to lose to here. But they also have 2 Team Rocket Grunts in their deck, so do they have room for that type of thing is a question. Wow, they're just fully pushed out there. That's incredible. We ground through their entire thing, and their buggy beams just weren't good enough against us. Because our deck doesn't care. Snorlax will take any energy gamers. He ain't picky. If I can ask, why did you and Spraggles quit hosting the larger pocket tournaments where there'll be more in the future? So, when I ran my first we ran the first Pokemon Pocket Tournament with Spraggles and I tapped into existing contacts and resources that I had, and we had 3 different sponsors for that event. 0 for 3, those sponsors saw a meaningful return on the money that they spent on that event in terms of sponsoring it, and none of them came back for the second one. And that was despite that first tournament that we did with those sponsors. We had killer metrics. Like, I think we had like 6,000 or 7,000 concurrent viewers between Spraggle's channel and I. And like we had like 100,000 live views at the end of it or something silly. It was very, very good stats, but none of it converted meaningfully from the sponsors, and none of them wanted to repeat. Esports is by far a loss leader. And like, for reference, the reason why our coverage for that tournament was so good and we didn't have any downtime, basically, other than scheduled downtime for the advertisers, was, in addition to me and Spraggles running the event, my wife was managing the back end the entire day, and I had another person, a D-Philly, who was in chat earlier, resubscribed for 111 months. He was sitting in the other room in my basement, managing 2.5 computers, recording matches to give us endless stuff to cover. So my wife, you know, this is just part of my job, and she helps occasionally with it, but we also had to pay a staff person on top of that too, right? So I actually lost money on those in the long run compared to just like making regular content. So it's like, it's more work, it has to be on a weekend, so I lose family time, and it's less money than just like firing up and doing a regular stream.